All right, let's jump right into one of the biggest puzzles in all of theology. Why on earth would Satan, the ultimate enemy, actually cause the one thing that was prophesied to destroy him? I mean, the crucifixion. It looks like a colossal mistake from his point of view. But was it really? Let's break this whole thing down.
So think about it. There's this ancient prophecy that basically says an heir is coming to crush Satan's head. Game over. So why would Satan himself roll out the red carpet for that heir's biggest victory? It just doesn't add up, right? Well, to figure this out, we've got to get inside his head. We need to look at what he was trying to do, what he was terrified of, and, well, where he made his one fatal mistake.
And that really brings us to what we're calling Satan's great puzzle. You see, the crucifixion wasn't just some random act of evil. Oh no. For Satan, this was a strategic move in a cosmic chess match. It was a move he felt he had to make, even with that prophecy about his own doom hanging over him.
And here it is, the prophecy from Genesis that started it all. This really sets the stage for everything. And you have to understand, Satan knew this prophecy. He was fully aware of it. He knew that someday, this offspring of the woman was coming to deliver the final crushing blow. So for thousands of years, his entire game plan was basically stop that guy at all costs.
So, what was at stake for him? I mean, what was he fighting so hard to protect? It all boiled down to one thing: his kingdom, his temporary dominion over the world. And with Jesus' arrival, that kingdom was suddenly facing an existential threat.
Okay, to really get this, we need to talk about this idea of dominion. The best way to think about it is like this. It was a temporary and totally illegitimate rule. Satan didn't earn it. He basically stole it or usurped it from humanity when Adam fell. So he wasn't a rightful king. He was more like a squatter. And boy, was he desperate to keep his illegal claim on the property.
And this really gets to the heart of the conflict. You have the first Adam, who messed up and lost that dominion because of sin. But then, Jesus, the last Adam, shows up, and he's the rightful, sinless heir. His very existence on earth was like an official eviction notice being nailed to Satan's door. He wasn't just another prophet. Nope, he was the landlord, showing up to take back what was rightfully his. So you can just imagine the panic this created, a real sense of urgency. With Jesus on the scene, the clock was officially ticking on Satan's little kingdom. Every single moment that Jesus was walking the earth, totally sinless, Satan's grip on power got weaker and weaker. He knew he had to do something, and he had to do it fast.
And this desperation is what forces his hand, leading to this escalating strategy. When you're faced with the one person who can take everything from you, what do? Well, his plan was basically twofold. If you can't get him to join you or disqualify himself, you have to take him out.
So, here's the game plan, laid out nice and simple. Step 1. Corrupt the heir. Try to get Jesus to sin, just like the first Adam. If he sins, his claim to the throne is gone. Boom, disqualified. Okay, if that doesn't work, move on to step 2. Divert him. Offer him a shortcut, all the kingdoms of the world right now, to try and get him off his true mission. And if both of those fail, well, then you're left with the last, most desperate option. Just get rid of him.
And we see that first step play out so clearly in the wilderness, right? When Satan tempts him. And look, this wasn't really about turning stones into bread because he was hungry. No, it was a tactical move. It was an attempt to get Jesus to use his own divine power for his own needs, completely separate from God's will. Just one act of selfish disobedience would have been enough to disqualify him, but it totally backfired. Jesus didn't fall for it.
And not only did the temptation fail, but Jesus immediately goes on the offensive. I mean, every demon he cast out, every single person he healed, that wasn't just a miracle. That was a direct attack on the very foundations of Satan's kingdom. He was literally taking back territory, showing everyone who had the real authority, right in the middle of enemy-occupied land.
And the threat just kept growing. It was exponential. Because this incredible power, this authority, it wasn't just with Jesus. He started handing it out. First to his 12 disciples, and then to 70 more. Can you imagine? Satan is watching his kingdom crumble, and it's not just because of one guy anymore. It's an entire army, and it's growing. The panic must have been off the charts. He had no choice but to go for broke, to move to that final option.
So all this pressure, this desperation, it forces him to play his final card. And this is where we see his ultimate catastrophic miscalculation. He decides, okay, I have to eliminate the heir. But here's the kicker. His whole plan was based on bad intel. There were huge, critical parts of God's plan that were completely off his radar. So what was it? What did he get so wrong? What was the fatal flaw in his logic? Well, it's that he saw Jesus as just a physical threat to an earthly kingdom. So he planned his counterattack in purely physical earthly terms, but he completely utterly missed what the real battle was all about.
These were his massive blind spots. First, the power of the resurrection. He just couldn't wrap his head around it. The divine plan for atonement, this idea that a death could actually be a payment for sin, totally foreign to him. He also completely underestimated Jesus' absolute, unshakable obedience to God. You see, for a being obsessed with earthly power and control, death was the end. It was the final move. Checkmate, or so he thought.
So, if you look at it from his very limited point of view, the cross looked like a perfect, can't-lose gamble. A total win-win. Either Jesus chickens out, disobeys God to avoid the pain of the cross, that's a win for Satan. Or Jesus obeys, dies, and is gone for good, also a win for Satan. In his mind, there was no third option. He saw no other way this could play out.
And this, of course, leads us to the most incredible plot twist of all time, the great reversal. Victory through what looked like absolute defeat. The very weapon Satan chose to protect his kingdom became the exact thing that blew it to pieces. It's just a stunning reversal, and it's the absolute core of this whole story.
I mean, think about it. For a moment there, the cross must have looked like Satan's greatest victory. The heir is dead, the movement is crushed, it's over. But in reality, that was the exact moment that the prophecy came true, and his own head was crushed. He literally walked right into the trap and sprung it on himself.
So what was the secret weapon? The hidden mechanism he couldn't see? Atonement. Jesus' death wasn't about being eliminated. It was a payment. It was a legal transaction that paid off the debt of sin that humanity owed. The very debt that gave Satan his power in the first place. It's like they say, Satan was playing checkers, but God was playing three-dimensional cosmic chess. And this just shows you the completely upside-down logic of God's kingdom. The way to the highest honor wasn't through a power grab, through rebellion. It was through humility and obedience. Jesus' death on a cross wasn't his defeat. It was the necessary step he had to take to be raised up and given authority over everything, and that includes Satan.
When you put their strategies side by side, they just couldn't be more different, could they? Satan's whole playbook is about force, rebellion, looking out for number one, self-preservation. But God's strategy? It's the total opposite. It's about obedience, submission, and self-sacrifice for the good of others. Satan just could not compute a victory that looks so much like complete and total surrender.
So, in the end, by pushing for the crucifixion, Satan thought he was killing a rival king to save his own kingdom. But what he actually, unknowingly did was provide the perfect sacrifice that would get him kicked off the throne for good. And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does this whole cosmic chess match really tell us about the nature of true power, and about a kind of wisdom that can take the greatest imaginable defeat and turn it into the ultimate victory?